as well have a certain intake. Yeah, they have. All right.
Joe got caught up in Washington. He texted me. He texted me. All right. Good afternoon. It is 1 o'clock, and I would like to call to order the July 19th meeting of the Oklahoma County Criminal Justice Authority. The first item on the agenda is a roll call.
Jim Anderson for Sheriff Tommy Johnson III.
Sue Arnall here.
Ben Brown here. Jim Couch here.
Francie Ekwer present.
Kevin Galby, present.
M.T. Berry, present. Thank you so much. Stand if you care to participate in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public comment is up to next. We have several that have signed up. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Michael Washington.
Well, now, why did I have to be the first one? Really, is it just interesting? Now then, my name is Michael C. Washington, founder of the Oklahoma Coalition Against People Abuse. And believe me when I tell you, we're going to drop this thing back here to its knees. That's why I'm disrespecting it. I don't even watch them and listen while I'm speaking because they're nothing to me. I'm not going to play with you because I'm real with mine. Now then, let's pick this other piece up that I just dropped for your convenience. The walls of Jericho are about to come tumbling down. That's right, you might better move on because I don't plan to be nice today. Heads are about to roll. First, I have found a non-domestic attorney for the family of Curtis Buff Williams, the young black man who was viciously slaughtered by the wretch Oklahoma City Police Department on March 27, 2021. Let me move on. We are also collecting data and are hoping to have our multi-billion-dollar lawsuit class action filed against the Oklahoma County Criminal Justice Authority, the city of Oklahoma City, by December 15, 2021. My goal is to completely dismantle this farce for a committee behind me, and I mean bring it completely and totally to its knees and to dump it into a pile of nasty ashes, by the way. Finally, I am personally putting together a petition on behalf of all the inmates in the Oklahoma County Detention Center and asking that they be immediately released due to the continual, repetitive, and non-relenting and unreasonable threat to their life, safety, health, and well-being. I don't know how much time I've got, but I'm pretty sure this guy behind me is going to tell me, but until that time, you better stop me because I'm going to continue. Now then, that's right, I see your faces, I don't care if you like it or not. First of all, this Oklahoma County jail is going down. I want y'all to listen to me what I'm saying. This county jail is going down. I don't respect anything these people do. As human beings, I respect them, but beyond that, they are nothing to me. Right now, today, if one of them wants to get hurt or anything, I'm coming to their aid, but other than that, the hell with them. That's right, think I'm going to be nice. What for? When you don't care about human beings being bitten by bed bugs. The whole 13 floor of people are dying from this COVID crap when you lie and say wasn't nothing up there. Now here y'all supposed to think somebody's gonna be fun and joking with you when I know you're liars? Hell no, we're not going for it today. And that's right, we're gonna file our multi-billion-dollar lawsuit, and we want some heads to roll, we want people in jail, and we want people to be eating out of the dumps. I don't mean per se eating per se, but I mean to working as best as what they need. They need nothing beyond or greater than. You understand me? A human being got to be bitten by bed bugs daily. They got to be subjected to COVID-19 viruses. They can't shower. Some of them not changing their clothes for months. Listen to me now when I talk to you. I'm not real with this here. Let me tell y'all something. They got to go. And Mr. Greg Williams, sir, I've asked your staff, I'm not going to ask one last damn time to let me get in there and tour that damn place. I don't want to work a damn thing with you people, number one. But
Mr. Washington, your time is up.
Thank you. Have a good day, son.
Thank you very much. Adriana Laws.
Oh, Mr. Baby.
Hi, everyone. I just want to touch on a few points. First and foremost being how ridiculous that I still think it is that we have to have public comment at the very beginning of the meeting without even being able to hear any of the discussion and agenda items that would give us the information we need to have public comment. This doesn't make any sense, but Mr. Couch, you are the chairman at this point, so it is what it is. Because I don't know what you guys are going to be talking about today, I look forward to hearing about what you're going to do about the juveniles in the jail. All the juveniles need to be released. The jail has over 60 DOJ violations, human rights violations. As we just heard Mr. Washington say, it's crawling with bugs, infestations, and now the COVID-19 Delta variant, so I'm hearing. So all the juveniles need to be released. As some of you may have heard, concerned citizens in the community have also been holding a sit-in in DA Prater's office upstairs since last Thursday. We've been here all day today upstairs because we believe that we need to release the people in the jail with nonviolent charges immediately. That is about 15% of the population, which would not only put the jail at capacity, what the capacity is, it would also help slow the spread of the new COVID outbreak that is happening. So I just would like to point some attention to those points, and because there's been no discussion, I have nothing else to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jess Eddy.
I want to echo Adriana's comments regarding the public comment. Chair Couch and Trust, I'd appreciate if we revisit that in the near future or open dialogue to begin to have that conversation. I see that the Diversion Hub is on the agenda, and I hope that's in recognition that the Diversion Hub provides one of the most critical services to the community in terms of low barrier access to social services. It embodies and exemplifies what we need to have more of in this community. Knowing that Ms. Arnall is on the trust, I'm sure that the trust is working to build stronger and better relationships with services like that. But for every person who's incarcerated in the county jail, access to opportunities like the Diversion Hub provides, and other groups, City Care, Team, these organizations need to have as much access to people there as possible. One of the problems with the jail is that people who are housed there are denied access, and particularly people who are kind of in the class of citizens that we're asking District Attorney Prater to release from bond with these low cost bonds, who on nonviolent offenses, largely substance abuse related or mental health related offenses arriving from their behavioral conditions and health conditions. You know, we have got to see, and we need the jail trust to lead that, because you all have a smattering of different kind of persons. You have law enforcement officers, you have politicians, former law enforcement officers, community leaders, activists, to lead that discussion. You all know that the district attorney's bond practices are probably the single largest contributor, if not the largest contributor, to the overcapacity issue at the jail, and that you probably would agree with me that the overcapacity issue is the largest, if not just the general facility conditions issue to people dying there. And we have to appreciate that each life is worth just as much as yours, Jim, and yours, Sue Ann, and yours, Jim. I mean, each life is worth something and worth as much as anybody else's. And we need to treat and react to that accordingly. Again, we also need this trust to get ahead of the ballgame here. The subcommittee's CJAC is doing a lot of work in anticipation of this COVID relief money that's coming down, but I have not heard enough discussion. We expect the jail trust to lead that dialogue, and for you all to help. You have people like Mrs. Ekwu who are respected by marginalized groups in this community. You all have the leadership responsibility to build consensus on that issue, and that is going to be a hard job. But I think one that a lot of people are earnestly committed to it, so let's get to it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Christopher Johnson.
We continue to always do our bit for king and country. Violence is not just the action of hurting, but also the inaction of timid souls and rules that in the end only hurt people. Item 11, which is Mr. Washington's case, I believe. It's pretty simple. It was recorded live. You did not even allow the media in. A distinguished law professor said you broke the law. Even Ms. Ekwu stated you broke the law. And even Mr. Berry had his doubts. All to say, it's time to stop pissing on our backs and telling us it is raining. You broke the law. Give Mr. Washington his victory and stop wasting taxpayers' money. Item 6 and 7. I believe Mr. Williams needs help on how to delegate his people. Companies hire efficiency experts to help cut costs and boost productivity. I feel that he may have plenty of folks for certain tasks, not all, and then they can help get this jail to be more proficient. Mr. Williams is trying, but we all need help sometimes in life. Bed bugs are still an issue, and the recent ruling about this building being unfit for juveniles should be indicative that no human being should be in this facility, period. Also, a covered-up COVID outbreak. The tranquilizing drug of gradualism has some of you intoxicated thinking you're doing enough. Each second wasted on enacting realistic solutions like immediately getting the population down to where it needs to be, addressing that 54% of jail inmates, according to the Department of Justice, have mental health disorders. And for Christ's sake, the filth, the nastiness. Oh, yes, and the detention officers allowing contraband in. New leadership, but I fear the same perfunctory ways of dealing with the jail. Although be a little cleverly, but you're still foolishly arrogant. He who gives up liberty for safety does not deserve either. That is Benjamin Franklin. Limiting free speech. Limiting speech to public comes from the fascist handbook. It would behoove yourselves to not be short-sighted and rule yourselves out of relevancy. Sooner than you think, us on this side will be on the table over there, as well as other tables. Do you want to ask us for favors? Should we grab our hands in unity, or should we slap it back out of spite? The clock is ticking, and all things come to an end. Our willingness to collaborate is not an invitation to the notion that we are going to lie down and allow you to be tyrants. All political power is inherent to the people. My people, we know what to do. It is time to execute what needs to be done. If there is no real change, then we must replace them. I fear that we have maximized all that they are used for. It's time that we remove them out of the seats of power and place upon the throne the righteous. All power to all the people.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Nanette Cummings.
Good afternoon to all. I'm here on behalf of the citizens out in the community and taxpayers. It is my understanding that I've been watching the news, seeing the... Thank you. I have been watching the news also, which I am not an advocate of, but it is unfair. I did notice over the weekend that most of the inmates did not get fed until after 8:55. I also know that they did not get medicine until the wee hours of the morning. I'm concerned because these are not animals, they are human. Yes, they may have committed crimes, but there may be reasons that they have. We all should also look at that. We all have came short, and we all have done something that we should also be on that other side. But we also have to understand we should do our due diligence to do what is necessary to make these people be okay, but understand their crime. And I think the 13th floor is an issue that has not been taken up on. Yes, juveniles should not be there. They are children, and I think all of us have them. And we also know that they do things that are wrong, but they have to be taught. If you never teach a person how to go to the bathroom, they won't know to go to the bathroom. They'll just go in and stand and use it and come out. We have to tell them. There are rules. I understand that. But we do not have to treat the people the way we are treating them at this present time. I think that is a little bit much, because I don't know that I could sleep with bed bugs or roaches or get a meal after a long time and wait. Yes, wrong is wrong, but right is right also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I have a minute that's left remaining?
Duran Weiss.
I come before you with a plea. Item number 5, dealing with municipalities like Dale City, Choctaw, Nakoma Park, Spencer, the smaller municipalities. The agenda item, as I understand it, is consideration for renewing those contracts so that they can house any of their detainees in our county jail. It's been repeated multiple times how disgusting our county jail is. It's a place that should have never been built in the first place. I believe the rejection of this contract would be the best foot forward as far as getting to something like supervised release. I don't really understand why a place like a Choctaw, like a Nakoma Park, like these other smaller municipalities actually really need for nonviolent crimes. These people, a lot of the times, don't need to be placed in a detention facility. They need resources. They need to have educational opportunities. They need jobs. So if you're going to be still placing them into the jail, that is just repeating the cycle. And I understand that there might be an argument for jobs, and there might be an argument for a lot of different things, public safety, but ultimately, a place like a Choctaw and Nakoma Park, those places aren't ultimately being kept safe because their neighbors are being placed in the county jail. Those communities are much safer because of the resources that they have available to them. To item number 7, obviously, because of where public comment has been positioned, I can't comment on what the report is going to be. That seems to be by design. However, I do hope that testing has continued inside our detention facility. I also hope to see on this report that we've continued to vaccinate detainees to prevent any kind of a COVID spread. I've heard some rumblings that there has been a COVID explosion inside our jail. There's no reason for that. Nationwide, we have seen a massive vaccine campaign for people who are outside of detention facilities. There's no reason to cage people like animals and then not even get the vaccines. The food that we eat, those animals receive vaccines. Those animals receive far better treatment than what we're receiving in the jail. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. Sarah Banna.
I'm a little sick and tired of the clown business here. You stand up and you pledge to the flag, yet you shred the Constitution day in and day out. You go to church and you pray to Christ, and then you are behaving like unchristian thugs Monday through Sunday, caging up children, brutalizing them. It's absurd. This entire building is a criminal enterprise. Call the goddamn Department of Justice, every one of you. Call the Attorney General's office. Shut down Turnkey Medical, which is committing medical malpractice, medical negligence, and medical fraud on a daily basis inside your fraudulent institution called the county jail. You have no pride left in yourselves anymore as Americans, goddamn it. I'm a goddamn immigrant in this country, and I've got more pride in America than you do. You sit in front of that flag. How dare you? If these children were across our borders, you would have sent in bombers and bombed another nation to rescue these children. Yet right across the street, you are housing American children in cages unfit for animals. I'm sick of it. You're all criminals. David Prater is the biggest vigilante in this town, and all of you have cowered down to him at cost to our children. I'm washing my hands of the blood on my hands because for too long I've been well informed of what's been going on inside that county jail. I got voicemails from children on my voice boxes begging and pleading for food, for safety. confessing to me about the violence, the raping that's happening in that facility, the drugs, the shanks being used against them by the Irish mob to spread drugs in your facility. I'm sick of it. Shut it down. And cash bail. No child, regardless of charge, will remain in the Oklahoma County Jail unless David Prater himself puts a goddamn bullet in my back, because I will not be silenced. Neither will those children. And I will drag him out one by one if you have the backbones to put him on a witness stand, to call out the criminals who've been committing child abuse, child neglect, and child endangerment.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, look at that.
The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from June 21st, 2021. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none.
Their adoption.
Been on the, is there a motion and a second?
Yes, so move. I thought I did.
Okay. There's a motion and a second. Please vote.
That's an illegal vote. We didn't comment on that, Mr. Couch. Mr. Couch, that's a legal vote. That's a legal vote. I guess I got to amend that lawsuit on y'all, starting tomorrow.
Trustee Calvi, are you having any issues with your?
I am. I do vote aye, and I press the button to do so.
Okay.
Items 3, 4, and 5 are the consent docket, so those are items that can be handled in one motion. Are there any questions or comments that any of the trustees have on items 3, 4, or
Right,
5?
here's the item, sir. That's what you're written for. What's our purpose, too, not just yours.
Move its adoption.
Is a motion?
Wow.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Aye.
They're not going to change until we replace it.
Okay. So it passes? Okay, it passed. I'm sorry, I missed it. Thank you so much. Item 6 is the Oklahoma County Criminal Justice Authority Action Committee update. Councilman Ekwerekwu, Trustee Ekwerekwu, excuse me.
Did we skip something? Did
I'm sorry?
we move to 6? I'm confused about. Okay.
We did 3, 4, and 5. This is item 6. This is your committee update.
Okay. I didn't gather that. Well, we don't really have an update. The last meeting, we didn't have quorum, so we look forward to the next meeting having quorum, and we will move forward with getting the recommendations to the trust as soon as possible.
All right, thank you. Item 7 is receive a report from Chief Executive Officer Greg Williams. Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to start off with a COVID update. As we know, the numbers across the county and across the country are rising. I read this morning that Oklahoma is averaging almost 600 new COVID cases a day, and the jail is a microcosm of that, so we are seeing increased numbers. Right now, we're doing more COVID testing than any other facility in the state. We did 230 last week. 39 tests on employees as well. And that doesn't include tests that may have been done at other facilities or the hospital or employees that got tested other than at the jail. So those numbers are minimal kind of numbers. During the past 7 days between July the 9th and July the 16th, we tested 230 detainees. 29 of those were positive. During the past 30 days between 6/16 and 7/16, we tested 753 detainees, and 31 of those were positive. Over the last 30 days, test methods have all been rapid tests. In the past 10 days, we've had 7 employees test positive. And again, this report is as of Friday. And again, we've done numerous hundreds of tests since then, so these numbers are likely to even go up from here. All the inmates right now are being offered vaccines at intake. And then every Friday, we do what we call a vaccine clinic, where we go to the pods and the floors and offer vaccines to anybody that might want them. Right now, we have all 3 COVID vaccines available, the Pfizer and the Johnson & Johnson and the Moderna. So if they have a particular choice, then we can make that available to them as well. Again, I'm very disappointed. The numbers of those people actually accepting that vaccine is relatively low. I'm not sure, but, there's been a lot of publicity about the, side effects and different things that may be contributing to that.
It is low, but it isn't significantly less than the state average, is it?
Again, it's a microcosm of the community, so really the numbers at the detention center mirror what we see across the communities. Of course, we have, testing is still in place. That has not slowed again at all. All the people that, before they go to court, 10 days prior to going to court, we get a list and we test everybody going to court. They've got to have a negative test before they're allowed into the court. We test everybody that goes to the Department of Corrections. We test everybody that goes, or has been transferred out, anybody that's symptomatic, anybody that expresses exposure. So anybody really that wants to be COVID tested, we COVID test. Of course, all symptomatic people are tested. All positive cases, if all the positive cases that we come across are quarantined for up to 14 days. Even though CDC says 10, we typically take that to 14. We extend that if they continue with symptoms, we will extend that quarantine even further. If the symptoms become severe, then of course they're treated outside the detention center. We take them to the hospital for them to be treated. We have increased this last week. We have increased even our hand washing. We've implemented our PPE stations. We sprayed the cells and intake and lots of the high traffic areas in the jail with a chemical that kills viruses. So we have continued to do that. We have mandated masks for all the employees. And again, I'm sorry for having this on. I forgot I had it on. So we have implemented that mandated mask for everybody. All the employees at the jail are mandated masks. We give all the inmates that come into the receiving a mask. And then anytime they go to court, they get a new mask. And then at least every week, they get another mask, to wear inside the cell or anytime they're outside the cell or just at their pleasure. We have masks available on all the med carts. And so masks are readily available. We have a good supply of those masks. Currently, we have 11 of the 29. We have 29 people that are positive as of Friday. And again, that number is likely to rise over the weekend. But we had 29 as of Friday. 11 of those are on 13th floor. So we have, that is where we house our medical and most vulnerable, the people that often have, compromised systems. So we have quarantined everybody on that floor as a precautionary measure just to prevent further spread. And again, we really wanted to take some action to keep this thing as low as we can, at least on that particular floor. So that entire floor is quarantined. And we'll keep that. Again, there's no date on that because it's not a medical quarantine other than those that are positive, of course, have been medically quarantined. But we have quarantined, or I guess I have, quarantined everybody else just to try to keep down, the flow and interaction amongst that population. Again, that's a precautionary measure. I'll move on to staff recruitment. Staff, again, continues to be a huge problem for us. We did hire a communications director, Mark Opgrand, that started on July the 6th. Again, our focus has continued to be recruitment as well as retention. We had a recruitment staff on site at the Oklahoma Employee Security Job Fair at the Convention Center on June the 25th. I was a little disappointed. I went over to that fair, and there were 160 people there looking for new employees. And throughout the 8-hour period, there were 50 people that actually showed up looking for jobs. So again, that was a very low turnout job fair, but we were able to interview 5 people, and we did hire 2 of those. So I think we had some success, even though the numbers were low. We currently have 337 employees on staff, which is up from last month. Since our last meeting on July 21st, we've interviewed 32 applicants, which resulted in 9 new full-time hires. We've got 16 that started the academy on July the 14th and will graduate on Thursday, July the 22nd. The next academy is scheduled for August the 2nd, but we will continue to take people on board even before the academy starts. We've had 14 employee separations in the past 30 days, 12 resignations, and 2 retirements. I am happy to report that our COVID-resistant maintenance project, the CARES funds projects, are totally complete at 100%. So all of those projects are complete. That has enabled us to get those contracted maintenance or repair and staff out of the building, so that will help us as well. It also will allow our maintenance staff to spend more time doing preventive maintenance and also get some repairs done in the building. So that is a positive move that we've been able to make. We do have an inmate who came in with some severe medical issues. That inmate has been hospitalized since early last week and is now receiving comfort care. The inmate's family's been notified and called into the hospital as typical within the life protocol. So I wanted to bring that to your attention as well. The health department report. We received a follow-up health department report, and the health department did list 35 deficiencies. Among those was the decertification to house juvenile inmates. At the time the letter was received, we had 14 individuals under the age of 18 in the jail. 13 of those were booked in for murder 1. The inmates who were not facing a murder 1 charge were immediately moved to the juvenile detention center. Another person was received amended with one of those others that were left. That those charges were later in the week amended to murder 2, so we've moved that person as well. So currently, we have 12 people in the jail under 18. All of them are serving or have been charged with murder 1. The main issue for not being allowed to house the juveniles is cited as sight and sound. And again, the standard is that they've got to be housed in an area where they can't hear or see any adults. And that building does not really allow us to accomplish that, nor has it ever allowed that to be the case. Throughout the state, there are around 50 county and city jails that have been certified to house juveniles. So there are some options. We've made a checklist of all the other issues cited in the report. There are a few points in the report that we're going to challenge the administrative process as just inaccurate or just to gain some clarification on what that was about. We've assigned staff to continue making corrections. And again, many of the issues that are cited in the report are ongoing issues that have been there for many, many years. So we have, it's not like we just started marking those. We've started on that early on. So we will continue to work on those repairs. We will write a full response back to the health department, and that's due within 60 days of receiving the report. So we'll get that done. That concludes my report.
Questions for Mr. Williams?
I do.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Williams, thank you for that. Have any of the people who've tested positive for COVID been hospitalized?
There was one individual that had tested positive. They came back from the hospital, became symptomatic, and we tested them, so they had been in the hospital. I don't believe anybody has been and I'll check on that to make sure. But I don't believe anybody has been hospitalized due to the COVID. And again, a lot of times what happens is, there's other things that they're hospitalized for, but to my understanding, and I will double check that to make sure.
Okay, and then when you say that people are being quarantined, especially on the 13th floor, what does that quarantine look like? Are they by themselves? Are they still in a cell with other people?
Some of them are, and some of them are with other people. And the problem is, once they've already been with a person, then, we don't want to separate them, because then we have 2 different packages or 2 different units that could be spreading the virus. So we leave them in place as they were with the people that they were with when they tested positive.
Does that not threaten the other people in their cell if those people are not positive yet?
Yeah, but again, it's real hard to tell if they're already positive. We test all the other people, but as a matter of routine, if somebody in that cell is positive, then everyone in that cell is positive.
Do you have the capacity, the spacing-wise, to put positive people in a cell by themselves, especially on the 13th floor?
if we know they're positive, and that's the tricky part, is a lot of just because you haven't tested positive doesn't mean you're not positive, you understand? So really getting a good grasp of who in this jail is contagious is very difficult, and that has been the challenge all along. Now, once we know they're positive, I mean, right now we have 29, so certainly we could probably find 29 spaces. It gets more complicated when some of those have got severe, mental conditions that they need, special treatment for their mental conditions. Some of those have health concerns that they need special, treatment for their health concerns. So separating them from some vital services, just because they're COVID, will have to be something that we'd really have to consider. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, what you're saying is, it makes sense coming from you from an operational standpoint, but I don't think it places the correct value on the human life, given that they are suffering from a very potentially deadly virus that they could be spreading to another person just because that person has already been in the cell with them. So that part doesn't make sense to me. Just gonna say that. And on the juveniles, and I understand that there's a whole other agenda item on this, but have you made any traction toward talking to these 50 other jails that are certified to house juveniles?
I have contacted one, yes. I did talk to Cleveland County, and when I talked to them last Thursday, they had 8, they're certified for 8 people. And I did talk to them about that just to kind of see what their capacity was, but that's the only person that I've talked to.
Okay, I guess I'll just wait for that agenda item to get the details on what that might look like in the future. In terms of the health department report, there's a lot of talk about site checks, and that people in general population, medical population, juvenile population, there's not enough site checks from the staff members, looking to see that people are still living, just basic observation. I guess, what do you say to that, and what have you done since this report to remedy that?
Yeah, and again, we are recruiting staff as fast as we can. We train staff, and we've done lots of extra training on site checks and how that might be. We recently started an entirely new class of employee that's what they do is site checks and medical pill pass, medical pass. So I've kind of got a class of employee that's between a non-uniform and a full-blown detention officer. So I have created that job class, and so far I've been able to recruit about 7 people into that job class, but hopefully I can build that even stronger so I can get a group of people that are maybe not willing to be a detention officer, but would be a person that's willing to be able to do site checks and pill pass and those kind of duties. So I've had some success last week with that.
Okay, so what schedule are those 7 people on? Are they going every hour or otherwise required?
Yeah, again, it's combined right now with pill pass. So as the medical cards go, or it's linked up with the nurses and with the pill passes. So they're on the same schedule right now as the pill pass staff.
Okay.
But again, it varies. I mean, your site checks vary from different situations. So general population are seen every hour. Some other people are seen more frequently. So it would be whatever schedule whatever that requires.
What is the staff observation like on the juvenile floor?
It's a general population. It's once an hour, I believe. I'll have to check to see, Francie, and see what that is.
And then there's reports that the phones are not working, and this is something that we've brought up since the beginning of time here at the Trust. Why are the phones still not working? What can we do to support you in making sure phones are working in the cells?
Yeah, there's a lot of phones in that jail, about 1,400 phones in that detention center. And again, phones are like any other piece of equipment. They break, the wiring, breaks, lots of different things happen to phones to make them quit working. GTL has 2 full-time employees that's all they do is fix phones. So again, as phones are found that are not working, we get them fixed. But the idea that we could get all the phones to work all the time is just really going to be a challenge.
But it's a priority.
It's a priority, absolutely. It's in our current contract, and again, we upped that, the requirement. We added another person on site to fix those phones and to repair those phones, so that's where we're at with that.
The linens, the towels, the sheets, there's a lot of talk, clothing, about people not getting that changed out. Again, what can we do to support you on making sure that this happens?
Yeah, and I think some of that was miscommunication with the health department. We do have clean carts and dirty carts, and there's some of those details that are not totally accurate. We have a full complement of staff in laundry. So again, I will meet with them again and see if there are actually issues with that, handing out clothes and handing out laundry. But that has historically not been a major deficit that we've had.
I just have to kind of disagree based on what I see from my clients when I'm in the jail. They're not getting fresh clothes every week. And I don't even know about towels at this point, but I just kind of think that's something we definitely need to look into. And I think that could help with other cleanliness issues that were reported.
And again, that's one of the deficiencies. So I've assigned staff to look at that. So again, we will meet and we will discuss that specifically to get a plan of action if that is an issue, or to address any of those kind of deficiencies.
Where are we at with repairing a lot of the cells that we need to address our triple celling issue?
Yeah, we've got 3 pods that are totally repaired right now. That we'll begin starting to reassign people to those pods. One of the deal is backlog and back order of supplies. We've had a very difficult time getting supplies from vendors. We reached out a couple of weeks ago to multiple of vendors trying to get mattresses, for instance, and I got 300 over the weekend. So again, I think some of that may be improved very soon, or maybe as early as this week. But getting supplies has really been our biggest issue with opening those pods. It's not necessarily the repairs, but we've got 3 pods that have been totally renovated. They've been sanitized, so to speak, and they've been sprayed and treated for bugs of every sort. So we're ready to move into those. It's just been getting supplies to do that.
Okay, well, that sounds a little more promising than that, so I really hope that gets done quickly. And then lastly, I'm assuming it's Turnkey's responsibility to do medical screening at booking and all throughout somebody's stay at the jail. Do you have any idea why that's not happening?
Yeah, we did have one case, as mentioned in the health department case, that I'm aware of that wasn't screened. But again, that person was very intoxicated and was very combative, and they was really not capable of doing that screening when they were prescribed. And then somehow we just maybe missed that. So I think typically screening, we have a pre-screening that happens initially, and then later down the intake process, there's a full medical screening. And again, as far as I know, those are routinely done. Now, again, there evidently was a case that we missed, and I'm sure there was. But again, we'll address that as part of that health department. Again, we'll assign that to a person that will do further investigation into that issue and see really what the deficiencies were and what a plan of action should be.
Okay, probably for the 80th time, I've brought up the issue of the bed bugs and the roaches. Last time you said you were going to potentially look into a new solution, or maybe talking to Orkin about an actual bed bug treatment versus any other pest. Have you made any progress on that?
Yeah, we have. We've talked to another vendor. In fact, even other than Orkin, we've got another vendor that we bought chemical from. In fact, that vendor did come in and sprayed an entire pod. So it's under review right now to see really how effective it was. It's an organic. It doesn't have any kind of toxic or caustic chemicals to it. It's an organic that really you can even consume. So we thought that would be very helpful, and especially in those areas where we can't evacuate the patient necessarily to treat their room or their clothing or their products. So that was a solution that we've started. In fact, we've done one whole pod, and we're testing it right now to kind of see how effective it is. That treatment requires an application, and 7 days later another application. So it takes a week really to see how effective that is, or just over a week.
Okay, so am I able to follow up with you on that in
Sure.
about a week or two?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We bought a steaming machine as well, a industrial steam machine. because we had got some reports that steam is effective in controlling that. So we have purchased a steam machine, and we do have a staff person that's assigned to steam those cells. And again, how effective that is yet to be seen.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Thank you. Is there a motion to receive the report? Is there a second?
Because they're very sensitive to extreme temperatures. That's how we took care of it in Afghanistan. Open water.
And the motion passes. Thank you. Next up is a presentation regarding the Diversion Hub. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to tell you a little bit about the Diversion Hub and then how we interact with the Oklahoma County Jail. First of all, I'd like to invite all of you down to the Diversion Hub if you haven't seen it. Everybody in the audience as well. You're more than welcome to come down. We love showing. It's down on 10th Street, and I'll explain a little bit more. Robinson, explain a little bit more about who we are and what we do and where we are. But open invitation. Just give me a call and we'll set up a tour for you. Love to show you exactly what we do. I'll tell you a little bit about it, but it is a little bit more informative in person. So. Let me just start with just a quick history. It kind of makes sense. You have to understand who we are or how we got there to understand who we are. So about 3 years ago, we just, the Arnall Family Foundation talked to the Public Defender's Office and said, hey, is there an opportunity for, another opportunity for the nonprofit world to get involved in the Oklahoma County criminal justice system? How can we be helpful? And of course, Bob Ravitz said, yeah, we're overworked and understaffed. We could definitely use some help. And so we placed a person in the Public Defender's Office, and Bob Ravitz was kind enough to give us the IT closet to work out of. And that person started some pilot projects. And as an opportunity came up, they just raised their hand and said, yes, we can be helpful with that. And we ended up with about 7 people working out of the Public Defender's Office and created a lot of these pilot projects that a lot of them we still run today. But then the idea of, can this be more helpful? Is this all we need to do in the Oklahoma County criminal justice system, or are there other things that we could do? And so we created an advisory committee. We had a lot of listening sessions. We asked judges and public defenders and district attorneys, law enforcement, people with lived experience. So as you were going through the Oklahoma County criminal justice system, what would have been helpful for you? So we had all these listening sessions, and we culled all of these ideas down with this advisory committee into what we now call the Diversion Hub. And so we were given the strategic plan January of 2020, and the idea was that we would create a one-stop shop for people involved in the justice system to come and get help. So we rented some space on 10th Street. We renovated the space, we hired staff, we created policies and procedures. So we were given that strategic plan in January with the idea of opening the doors in April. But like everything else, COVID happened and we got a little bit delayed, right? So we finally opened the doors on June the 8th of 2020. To serve, so if we open the doors with the mission of serving anybody involved in the criminal justice system, we would have failed. There's just so many people involved. So we did have to narrow the scope of the clients that we're serving. And so the first 2 populations we're serving are those on pretrial, so they're arrested for something and they're booked out of the jail. All right, so we can be helpful as they're going through the justice system. The other population that we're serving are those that were sentenced to probation and then in danger of getting revoked on that probation. If we keep them in compliance with their probation, that'll prevent them from going to prison. So what do you expect when you walk in the door? So client walks in the door and they receive an emergency assessment by one of our staff members. First day, we're really looking for, where are you staying tonight? Do you have food? Do you have clothing? Kind of those emergency needs. We have a great partnership with our homeless shelters in town, so City Rescue Mission and City Care. We can get everybody a place to stay that night. We have clothing, we have some food in the back that we can provide emergency services to them. We also want to qualify them for services. So they see one of our justice navigators that checks out whether they're involved in the criminal justice system. Are they on the pretrial program or in danger of a probation revocation? They meet with them. If they qualify for services, then they're transferred over to a case manager. And our case managers are the generalist, right? So we adopted what we kind of lovingly referred as the medical model, where you go to see your family practice doctor for most things when you're sick, and then when it gets beyond their expertise, they refer you on to one of the specialists, right? But you don't stay with that specialist. You always come back to your general practice doctor. So we adopted that model for our services, where our case manager is that kind of family practice doctor. They help you do an assessment with you, help you create a plan, and then refer you on to specialists. In our world, we call them navigators. So we have justice navigators. So our justice navigators help people show up for court. They call them the day before. Oh, do you have transportation to court? No? Okay, let me get you transportation. They help them get on payment plans for fines and fees. They do all the things just to keep them in compliance with the criminal justice system. We also have housing navigators on site. So we can do emergency housing right away, but it takes a while to get long-term housing. So while you're staying in emergency housing, we have these navigators that help them create a plan to get long-term housing. We have employment navigators. We have mental health and substance abuse navigators. We have state benefits navigators. It's a pretty cool project. We have a person on site who's an employee of the Department of Human Services, and they can get them access to all state benefits right in our office. So when you walk in the door, not only can you get case management services, you can get justice navigation services, employment, housing, all these social services benefits, but you can also get state benefits. And so it really does create a one-stop shop for people that are involved in the justice system. How we interact with the jail. So we have a bus that runs around town. We know transportation is a huge barrier for a lot of our clients. And so we have a bus with a bus driver. We can take them point-to-point services. So if they have an appointment at North Care for mental health, we can take them down there. If they need drug testing, we take them over to team and get them drug testing. But nearly every day, we get a call from jail. One of Greg's team members calls us up and says, hey, we have one person, 5 people getting out of jail at this particular time. We think they would qualify for your services. So we send our bus over to pick them up, but we also send a staff member. All of our services are they're not court ordered. The client has to willingly participate in the program. So we send a staff member over. I had the pleasure of going over one day to see how the process worked. And standing right outside of the door that allows people to get out, I heard behind the door one of the jail staff members saying, okay, one of these people that you're going to see when you walk out the doors with a diversion hub, they really can help you and provide good services to you. So please listen to them, because we really have, from the time they walk out of that exit area to the front door of the jail, which is about 45 seconds, to convince them to get on the bus to come over for services, because they're not court ordered. They have to willingly participate. And so that's why we have a staff member there, walks them out the front door. The bus is waiting for them, and we tell them about all the services we provide. And at the very last second, if they continue to say no, we say, hey, we got a cup of coffee. How about a cup of coffee? Come on over. And it gives us an opportunity to provide them the services. And we have a really great participation rate. Almost all of the folks exiting the jail that Greg's staff call us about get on the bus and come over for services. They're encouraged by the judges when they're going through arraignment, encouraged by Greg's staff, and then our staff escort them over to the Diversion Hub for services. And so we've enrolled over 2,200 clients in the last year. So since June of last year to June of this year, we enrolled about 2,200, or a little over 2,200 clients in services. And so we've proved the model that it works and that there is a huge need for services. People always ask me, Damon, I sort of understand all that legal, or I don't quite understand all that legal stuff. Break it down for me. What is it that you actually do? So I always take them into one of the rooms that we have at the Diversion Hub. It's a room that's for client interviews. There's some art on the wall that is done by a lady who's incarcerated at Mabel Bassett. She wanted to depict how her life went. And so when she was a little girl, she depicted this in art. When she was a little girl, everything was rainbows and butterflies. As she made poor decisions, as she was bullied, as violence was perpetrated on her, all this garbage just kept getting added to her life, ultimately turning her into a monster. That's why she titled it The Making of a Monster, and the reason she's incarcerated, right? And so that speaks to me, because a lot of our clients come into us in that situation where they just have all of this stuff that's just hanging on them, all right? And so, very excited about this piece of artwork. We were able to actually purchase it from her and send her a message to, she's still at Mabel Bassett. We sent her a message and said, hey, here's what the Diversion Hub is. We have it proudly displayed on our wall. Just wanted you to know that it's really valued and important to us. And so she sent us a message back and she said, I want to complete the idea of this, and I want to make a sequel to this, and I want to call it The Redemption of a Monster. And it's about how when people put their arms around you, they give you words of affirmation, and then they help you create a plan to get out of the situation you're in, and not only that, they help walk with you to accomplish all of the goals on that plan. All that garbage starts falling off of you, and you turn into a better version of yourself. So that's what the Diversion Hub is. People walk into us in a really precarious situation. We are that cheerleader. We're not court-ordered, so we're not violating you. We really can be your cheerleader, right? So we give you words of affirmation. We tell you you're worth everything. We tell you that if you create this plan, we'll walk with you to complete that plan, and that's what we do. So once again, I would like to invite you to come take a look at it if you haven't seen it. I gave you the 15-minute version. I'll give you the hour-long version if you come on over. But thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Damon, thank you for coming down, and you truly do work that makes a difference in the community. Do any of the trustees have any comments or questions for Damon?
I just want to say thank you for all that you guys do at Diversion Hub, and you're a very valuable partner to everyone in this county, but especially the criminal justice system and the jail, so thank you.
Thank you, Francie.
Team is a member of the Diversion Hub. They're one of the service providers. But also, did you mention whether you charge or not?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Sue Ann. All the services are 100% free. We don't charge for any services. We provide them through generous donations from the public. Thank you.
Thank you for coming down. And thank you. Ben?
Could I ask you a question, please, sir?
Damon?
Damon,
One
can I
more.
ask you a question? I'm trying to find a picture. There is a book that I'm currently reading, just discovered, called The Body Keeps the Score. Have you read that book? Do you know that book?
I've never heard of it.
Well, it's by a doctor, and what it's about is trauma. And when he was describing the little girl from the monster stories, clearly there was much trauma in her life.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this book is about the relationship between trauma and dysfunction and the healing of trauma and function again. So I'll make sure you get one of those books.
I appreciate that. Thank you. On that note, if you got a little bit more time, are you familiar with ACEs? We measure ACEs on all our clients that come through the door for case management, and our average score is a 7, which is very high compared to the general population. So childhood trauma and experience really impacts adult experience. So thank you, Mr. Brown. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Item 9 is discussion regarding the Oklahoma State Department of Health letter. We did discuss parts of that earlier. Trustee Ekwereku, any further questions or comments?
Yes, I really just wanted Greg to be able to hopefully tell us where we're at with engaging conversations with other jails that can potentially house the juveniles that we have so that we are in compliance with the law.
Yeah.
And, just making sure that we are honoring this new law. And so I know he's had the conversations, but was hoping we could get an update.
Okay, there's a couple, three things going on that. First of all, there are juveniles that are coming in the door, which we're referring to the juvenile facility, to a juvenile detention facility. Secondly, there are those 12 or 13 now that are charged with murder one. And that's an issue that's out there trying to determine what is the appropriate place for them. And so there are discussions going on right now with some judges and such to determine really where we need to be at that as we go forward. Because we house them. We need somebody to tell us whether they should be in the Oklahoma County facility or they need to be somewhere else. We can't make that determination. Somebody needs to tell us what is the right way to do that. So we're looking for some guidance in that area from the judges and such.
Okay, and fair enough, but I think the law is the law, which has said we're not to house them. And in addition, we have a health department review that is saying we have no business housing them based on the elements that our jail presents. So I was hoping to hear from Greg, but it sounds like I'm going to be rerouted to you, Mr. Couch.
You can talk to Greg. I've been in some conversations. I do know that the law may be the law, but it appears that there are multiple interpretations of the law at this point in time. Greg, you want to respond to that? And then, of course, the other issue is that the law that goes into effect on November 1st, which doesn't allow, which basically hastens which doesn't allow juveniles in county facilities.
Well, is it November 1st or was it Friday, Greg?
No, Friday was the determination, the letter from the Department of Health regarding our facility. There's a state law that goes into effect on November.
Okay, so Greg, have you made any progress toward moving them as of Friday?
I've moved the ones that are, not arrested or charged with murder one. All of those have been moved. And again, we haven't received anybody since midnight on Thursday, any new people since then. We've had one who had their charges amended from murder one to murder two, and we have immediately removed that individual as well. I've been in close contact with Jamie Overstreet, and I have made arrangements for everybody everybody under 18 that's arrested for charges other than murder one immediately be assessed and booked in by them and housed at that facility. Again, I was made aware of today that there is a meeting, maybe this afternoon even, to further discuss really what do we do with the remaining 12 that we have. So hopefully I will have clarification on that today.
Okay, that sounds good. And if that doesn't bring you the information you need, Mr. John Michael Williams, are you able to find who we need to consult with legally to know where we should go moving forward, given what Mr. Couch expressed?
I will.
The bottom line is John will be in the meeting this afternoon.
Sure.
To discuss that, so hopefully some direction will be given with that.
Okay.
Ms. Williams, can I come? I'd like to be in the meeting too. It's my speaking.
Other questions regarding all right, let's move on to item 10. That's discussion regarding action regarding the COVID cases at the Oklahoma County Detention Center. There was, again, some discussion on that earlier. Do you have further questions?
I do. Greg, I heard you that you're testing, you got masks in place, you got safety protocols that you're encouraging. I would ask, number one, how do you feel the staff is helping you implement this on a day-to-day, hour-by-hour basis?
Yeah, I'm in discussion with a guy right now, and I hope to hire him earlier this week as a medical monitor, a contract monitor, and also a medical quality assurance staff. So that's what I've done with that. And again, I talked to him yesterday, and he's supposed to come by either today or tomorrow. Early this week, he said he'd bring his application, and we can finalize that decision. But I am pursuing a person that has got expertise in medical monitoring and medical, kind of procedures. Right now, I'm kind of challenged with, we have civilian staff that are really trying to watch medical staff, and really I think I need a medical person or somebody with that kind of expertise to help watch those operations. So I'm in pursuit of that person, and I'm very confident that I may be able to secure him early this week.
That sounds great. And if you should not be able to obtain him, please let us know so we can help you look for somebody else, because I think that's a wonderful idea. And then in addition, you're saying that you're testing people for court 10 days prior to their court date. I'm not really sure how we ever got to that system, but I'll just give my 2 cents that it's not working, because there's some people that fall through the cracks and don't get their tests before they need to come to court. And that causes basically the reality that they could have been released on that day, on their court date, but because they weren't tested, they weren't brought over, and they get continued to another court date, another 30 days out. So it is contributing to the slowdown on the dockets. And I'm just wondering, can we get you some rapid testing where you could do it the same day and remedy any issues concerning the dockets?
Yeah, all of our tests over the last 30 days have been rapid tests. That is primarily our use now. I think a lot of it happens with is the coordination between the docketing and the testing and getting them back back on the docket. And again, I just promise you, if people call me and say, can we get this person tested? We do. Now, can I get them back on the docket? Sometimes I can't because they've already been taken off. So that's really been the struggle that I have is the court send me a list 10 days out that say these are the people that are scheduled to court on this particular day. And then we start putting them in the process so that we can get them tested. And then we get the results back to the court. And sometimes they get taken off the docket. And then I get called and said, hey, can we get this person retested to see if he can come in today? Because we really need, sometimes I can always get them tested. I don't know of a case that I have not been able to get that person unless they refuse. And we've had some people that just refuse to take a test. But other than that, and those are pretty far between. But typically I can get them tested, and getting them tested in a day or two's notice is not the challenge. It's the challenge of getting them back on the docket so they can get to court. But if you'll let me know anybody that needs to be tested to get to court, I can get that done.
Okay, that was going to be my question. So theoretically, if a judge needs somebody to be in court that day and it wasn't necessarily scheduled, you're able to test them that morning and get them to court that day?
We do it multiple times a week. We do
Okay.
it, that is a routine request that we fulfill.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Williams?
Do you have a court coordinator who coordinates for the detainees to get to their cases or get to their hearings?
We get a docket from the courthouse that says who needs to be in court, and we pull those people. We test them, and then we pull them and put them in receiving, and the sheriff comes and picks them up.
So you don't have,
There's just so many people that you have to manage on that. I was wondering if you need a specific person just to do the coordination to make sure they're prepared to go
I do
over their hearing.
have a person that tracks those lists and coordinates those lists and keeps up with change orders
Okay.
and dockets and all of that. Yes, I have
Good.
people that do that.
All right.
And you're right, that is a very complicated and very taxing assignment.
Then just one other thing on those who have tested positive for COVID. I realize that you've tried over and over and over again to get medical ORs, but there may be another way if we could just get a list of those who have a bond of $5,000 or less. And I know there's going to be some medical privacy issues, but there would be a possibility to turn that list over to somebody else to try to get them bonded out.
And that list is sent out routinely, so if you have somebody
It is.
that you'd like me to put on that list, I can do that. and
Okay,
send that
absolutely, I
list.
will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, but that's a routine report that we send out to a number of people.
Okay, good.
other questions?
I have one more. So pregnant people who have contracted COVID in the jail, is there anything you're doing above and beyond to accommodate them or get them seen by a doctor faster?
Yes. And again, we pay high attention to pregnant people, for an obvious kind of reason. So, they are closely monitored, and we send them out to the hospital if we have any suspicion that there's complications with that. We have pursued OR bonding for some and have had some success with that. But that's typically what we do. We first try to get them OR'd out if we possibly can, and if not, then we just closely monitor them and send them to the hospital if their symptoms become such that warrants that.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. Item 11 is considered to go into executive session on the case of Washington versus the Oklahoma Criminal Justice Authority. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
So move.
Second?
Go on and talk about my lawsuit that I'm getting ready to amend. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that wonderful? And I'm going to add a 1980, I'm going to add a little
It
money on
passes.
y'all.
Item 12 is considered to go into executive session on the Simcoe Horvath versus the Oklahoma County Criminal Justice Authority et al.
So move.
Motion is second. Please vote. We're going to executive session. Thank you.
Y'all should be worth about 100,000 apiece.
It helps with tolerance.
That's where, I remember when Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson said exactly, we need scientists, we need, you know, because there is absolutely no basic scientific understanding of people in power. No idea. There's a religion, it's not, it's just a set of steps. That's it. You know? And they make decisions based upon not adequate enough information. And as a scientist, I do research. Like, I have to literally have 60 peer-reviewed resources just for one paper. You know, it's like, and you got people making decisions.
Item 13, I would entertain a motion to leave executive session.
So moved.
We have a motion. We have a second. Please vote. We are now, the motion passes. We are now in public session. There is no action required on item 14. I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Motion and a second. Passes unanimously. We are adjourned.